really seen them do it at the beginning of the tournament, and even in scrims, a lot of people say, hey, they're not really running it that much, they're playing a lot of weird, different compositions. They're now towards the later end. Maybe we can see them pull this out. Maybe it's a little bit better than people expect.
China will set up on the point early. They will dare South Korea to challenge. The point's just unlocked, so this is where the fight's really going to begin. And straight away, Sky gets flattened by Fury. He charges in. Can't beat a flashbang to get the DC on late gun to all but secure this fight for South Korea. Oh, Matt, they were chomping at the bit to get started. And as soon as the bell rings, it's a knockout.
Yeah, you know, Gushue has been so good being aggressive for China, and you see how South Korea attacks them. Just in that first fight, they take the aggression to China, forcing China to peel back, try and help keep these supports alive. If they do that, that keeps JJoNak free. JJoNak already almost at a transcendence after our first fight. You can see the amount of damage he can put down, and that's how South Korea can win this match, running away with it.
Sky falling early in the prior fight, definitely. Oh, Carpe blasting Pearl's head off with one fell swoop. That's another very quick fight, ladies and gentlemen. Carpe waiting in the wings of McCree. His accuracy, definitely not something that we will ever underestimate, but that was filthy.
And you can stop Carpe for only a limited amount of time. He's a player that during the rank...
Both of them in their own rights, superstars. Carpe been playing it safe so far in this fight, just hoping to sort of book it for the backline, and he found Sky already. He just snuck in there, Matt. Kidnapping. We've got video evidence, Matt, but no one's going to catch this man.
I mean, look, McCree can put down... Look, the McCree versus Soldier debate, right? Soldier, a little bit more mobility, a little bit more constant damage. McCree can burst these players down, especially, a hero like Zenyatta. When Sky's playing, it goes right by. Carpe, all he has to do, just hit two quick headshots, headshot and a body shot, and there goes the Zen.
South Korea, it appears they've identified a potential weak point on China, because Sky has been the first to die in almost every fight thus far. This time they've sort of weeded out Carpe. They realized he was waiting in the wings, but it's a simple reposition for the McCree player, and then back to his backline. Overhead goes Gushue, and he definitely wants to get rid of the gunslinger. The flashbang's going to stop him in his tracks, and Gushue's out. As quickly as he came in, he didn't want to deal with that at all. He was down to about 10 HP and had to jump out of the fight. He finds Carpe in the end, though. Sound barrier now being brought to bear for the Chinese squad. They've got that extra durability, and it goes a heck of a long way. Fury went over the edge. Leonard does fight Shy in the Brigitte battle, but it's going to be tough going here for JJoNak and Co on the point. Gushue just pulls off for the time being, but Rally was used in the fight, finally giving the extra health and armor, and he gets himself another 2 kills. 3 kills for Fletcher in that fight on the Brigitte. He'll have to see it.
Your main DPS player in that composition, really the only one playing a DPS player, Carpe, who dies during that on McCree. In a lot of teams where they would have just died and reset, what did South Korea do? They double down, they rally, and guess who's still there? JJoNak. JJoNak leaked.
JJoNak was a player on the New York Excelsior that was heavily invested in by his team. They played around him. In this South Korean roster, that seems to be less of the case, and yet JJoNak is able to do just as much with arguably less investment. He's a low economy player in this particular lineup, but he's still getting it done.
When during the regular season, NYXL, it's like, okay, we pressure JJoNak, we feel pretty good that we can deal with the rest of the team. With this lineup, with Carpe and Fleta, you pressure JJoNak, the rest that they're going to just run through you and kill you. But now we'll get to see the McCree battle if we leave versus Carpe, as China loses that point, but this is definitely winnable.
A little bit tough to remove the team in control of the point that has a risk, so you'll see that China won't just give this up. Because you need to push Fate and Co off the point to really control it yourself. So Holt used there, no one being pulled into the well. It's a bit wishful thinking at this point. But China actually give up control of the point, so now they have to come forward. They cannot sit back here in this corner, because South Korea are going to have healing for Fate. They're going to have yet another shield he can replace it with. So they've got to come up with a plan. Evil Tal needs to speed them forward. It looks like that's what they're trying to do here. Carpe behind the shield, rattling off those shots, and China's shield breaks first. The pressure is better on the side of South Korea, and China are held in stalemate.
I mean, Carpe just has such a better angle than Lee does, as JJoNak was killed Gushue, so don't have that shield. And you see, as soon as they find Sky on his own, Fury jumps on him, and they're going to be forced to use Transcendence.
Oh, the Deadeye catches him out. Carpe just needed the 1 kill. Happy enough with that. A Q for a McCree, will take it any day of the week. Later, obviously over the edge, Evil Tal also getting it over quickly. And this is going to be a big issue for China. They cannot win the round by being passive. It's not as simple as getting a pick. Maybe why we're seeing the Reinhardt, but this can be risky. Yushui, if he gets close to that shield, he's very susceptible to getting halted into the pit.
Yeah, but if they can go through the side with the lighthouse, they're going to try and pin him in that corner. South Korea, though, already realizes this. They see the Reinhardt coming around. So what do? They reposition on the China side. Now you may see a big halt into that middle well.
Oh, I think we need the Benny Hill theme music going on right now. Both these teams are trying to match each other's movements around the point. Shy goes down first. Planet did have a body grenade applied to it, but it doesn't seem to bother him. Shield bash and that insult to injury. China still without an answer. South Korea quickly reminding fans and foes alike that they are the best.
The thinking is they are for China, right? Like when they want to push them into that corner, the best way to probably do it is switch over to 3 tanks, 3 supports. The issue is South Korea reads it like a book. They just rotate to the other side. So now if you're China, what do? You know if you go lighthouse, they're going to wrap around. Do you try and bait it out? You don't have any long-range damage, so you can't really fight this across the point.
No choice but to come forward and face the music. China must stand and deliver now. Retake control or it's all going to be over on this map. Lei Young, very lucky not to get pulled into the pit there. Grenades used defensively for China to keep that healing going. Sound barrier also applied, but Carpe waits it out with the Deadeye. China have to fold away from him. He doesn't find any kills with it, but he definitely controls the zoning. Earthshatter into a shield. Yushui, he had no other option. Resuit for Lei Young now, and Fletcher's going to push forward. Yushui start up and pulled in. Into the pit, no. He teeters on the edge for paralyzing weapon, and then Adamo gets the job done. Shy's going to be overrun on that Brigitta, and that's about it. Player on a average team, and I think that's been generous in some cases. So for him, this is definitely his first.
But he's not going to last that long. And then Ana, you know, if she's shooting opponent, she's obviously not healing. So I think it's going to be very difficult to protect these supports. But you also have a very strong dive to get into the back line with the Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, Sombra. So you definitely want to put some pressure onto Jonak. And I think when you look at South Korea, this could potentially be their strongest comp, where you have the double snipers and you have Jonak on Zen. Just 3 deadly heroes.
So this isn't a glass cannon on defense, it's a fine China cannon, Matt. Very fragile, but obviously able to do a lot of damage in a pinch. China will have to, as a result, play more aggressively than we're used to seeing teams play on this map. You have to see them, use the burst and the presence of the Wrecking Ball here and follow it up as much as possible. Evil Tile just took a hit there from that high ground, so that's something you need to be careful of. This is the double sniper composition that I think was probably one of the most fearsome prospects from this South Korean roster, but Fate and Carpe just got turned into jello.
They leave the lobby as the hands of leave there. They'll come right back, though. As Carpe switches up, he'll go Zarya against double snipers. So South Korea realizes that they make a change right away.
Yushui on the front line there. South Korea very quickly shuttling themselves on towards the pointer. Now it's Lee's turn to step up, and very quickly he gets out. He's just dipping his toe in the water right now, trying to see where he can actually start getting some combos off and deleting some of these heroes. Lee took a lot of damage from the backside there. I think he only realized it after it charged in. Now the EMP being applied. 3 people knocked up though. Carpe takes himself out with a right click, but Jonak has found 2. There is still a possibility here, but it's going to be tough with the Transcendence in play. Flatter, he gets turned to match as well. And Lee has definitely been finding his mark on the foreheads of South Korea with that big old gauntlet.
And here's the thing for South Korea. They don't exactly want to play the Reinhardt here right away. They want to try and make this work with Winston, because you can't allow the Ana and Zen for China to just sit up on the high ground and be able to land Discords, be able to land those big biotics. You need to try and put pressure on them. The issue is they're taking so much damage on the way in.
Lei Young, very easy to gain charge on the particle cannon there while sending that Wrecking Ball forward. Lei Young lets go the Graviton Surge go immediately now, but the Transcendence is called into play. Oh, Meteor Strike. Adamo gets flattened once again by Lee, but there's more work to be done. Fate lands on Evil Tile, takes him down, and Jonak from the side. It's a headshot for the Zenyatta. And he had to do it to him, Matt. Oh, dear. The recovery from South Korea, the employment of that Transcendence. Sometimes I think Jonak just loads into game with Transcendence. He always seems to have it, but right then, that was the perfect time.
So Fate at the beginning of the fight got up to the high ground, put the pressure on the supports, was able to use Primal Rage, push them back a little bit. And when the Graviton Surge comes down from Lei Young, you don't have something like a Biotic Grenade, or you don't have the ability for Evil Tile to get down there and use their own Transcendence to keep some players alive. And you see, as soon as they get the players off the high ground and they take that point, they go right over to Reinhardt.
Speed boost in, Transcendence forced out rather easily, if I'm not mistaken.
Early.
And an EMP over the top here. Yeah, you can definitely see that China are very invested in winning this fight, but the investment may actually be the issue. A lot of ultimates thrown in here, and yes, they will win out. There's no mistaking that. But they were definitely a little bit concerned about the speed at which South Korea approached them early in that fight.
Now you see China getting very aggressive towards the spawn of South Korea. You're going to have both Zarias having a grab. You see how difficult it is. See how difficult it is to take Jonak out. You need 3 players there, and now you finally get him. But so you did use the Transcendence a little bit earlier, China. You don't have a big support ult to keep you alive through Carpe's grab here. What are your options? I almost feel like you don't want to use some of these ults for China. You almost want to see if you can draw a lot out for South Korea and then come back in the next fight, see how they decide to play it.
Wow, what a way to make an entrance. Carpe drops down. Gushue gets the nano boost just to mitigate some of the damage, but with the Discord orb, that's not really going to be an option. And finding the Reinhardt is always priority number 1 in these tank battles. And you'll notice as well, you won't notice, but I'll tell you, Jonak has about 1/3 of his team's damage. This permutation of the triple tank, triple support composition that features the Zenyatta without the Ana is always going to be South Korea's go-to because Jonak can have that much impact as a DPS player.
And China's going to switch over to Lucio. They want to get in plus Shatter here in this closed hallway. There's going to be the EMP. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it gets the backline at the very least of South Korea. Gushue finds Feta with the fire strike. Jonak, he will not be taken down. Carpe to the rescue. Big brother keeping his boy alive. And Jonak just chilling back on that payload with that Transcendence ready to go.
Did you also see from Crystal's POV, gets Jonak extremely low, but it's Fury there with the defense matrix right from behind, eats up a lot of those shots as well. You see, you want to pressure Jonak. You fall into this trap where you think that's the way to go about it, but they just play around him and just bait you in and bait you in.
South Korea again, crash upon China like a wave, looking to do some damage here. Carpe's fully charged up, and you can see Lei Young gets that grab going. Transcendence immediately pulled out by Jonak here. Fury still does get desuited before the healing comes in, but it may not be an issue. Sound barrier now. South Korea want to get aggressive. It's a massacre! Oh no! They just collapse on China. Nothing left to do but the crying, man.
So there, they just want to leave Sky alive as long as possible. And China making these changes, they're just trying to find anything that'll work here. They're going to make a change over to Widow. What are you going to do? Just fire into the tanks. You take out ammo there. That's pretty big. It's going to force South Korea to disengage. Big
part of the healing for South Korea is now currently waiting to respawn. Still, Gushue doesn't want to get too aggressive, but Lee perhaps didn't quite get the memo. That shield's about to break. Gushue's got to back up. Send the fire strike in. He already has an Earth Shatter. He might be forced to use it in just a moment, but he's not about it. He doesn't want to get involved. He lacks his Brigitte.
He needed to break line of sight there because he's trying to get the Discord orb off. When Jonak lands it on him because the shield goes away for a few seconds, there's no other way. He knows that the Discord's on him. They want to pressure him down.
It's like a bad tattoo you got in your teens and you can't get rid of, but that's the Earth Shatter coming down now. Transcendence straight away being used, though, and yeah, the self-destruct catches Gushue out. He was running on empty in terms of his shield capacity for much of that fight, and they just couldn't hold up in the heat. Carpe now laying down the law, and they get over the line. South Korea. Oh, dear. Everything they can is being done to snuff out the fire of hope in the Chinese team's heart. They get across the line, and 1 minute and 18 seconds remain in their time bank.
You know, China was just looking for anything, any kind of answer there. And you know, they thought they had it with the
to break LOS, which means you have to give up that ground. The Discord orb in itself is just so incredibly powerful. It's being illustrated here well for South Korea. But now China will step up. The plucky challenges leave as a skirting around the edge of the map.
So this is kind of what I was talking about. Not exactly, but very close to what I was talking about them going with on Ilios when we were talking about, well, what they could have done. The Wrecking Ball Winston Diva combination. They don't want the Brigitte here because how do you get Brigitte up to the high ground, right? I mean, you could speed boost, you're going to be pretty obvious. They want the ability for Crystal to use that Genji, go up and pressure some players out himself.
Carpe will be challenged down, but Crystal probably can't remain here. The follow-up was good from Gushue. That's enough actually to force Carpe out of position, so that, not terrible. But look at the health bars. Look how low Lei Young and Leave are. The tanks for China are really taking a beating here, just trying to set up, and now Carpe's going to punish this. They've lost a healer. Evil Tile is not there. No more AoE healing for those tanks.
Sky has been playing primarily by the statue, towards the right-hand side of the statue if you're coming out of the offensive side. And South Korea has moved to a position to where if he wants to heal the Chinese roster and the Chinese roster wants to put pressure, they have to go around the corner.
Oh no!
Get stuck in the trap with the nano boost.
What a use of ultimates for nothing! A trap! A silly-looking bear trap sat on the ground will secure it and flat up. Time to burn some rubber, he says, and Crystal incinerated inside his cybernetic armor. And you can see the Junkrat pick, not one we've seen tons of so far this weekend, but definitely in moments. The Riptire, the kind of thing that should secure you at least one kill. But it was the trap he put down that shut down 2 ultimates effectively.
And this is one of the harder defensive setups to break, because if you go tank heavy, you're just going to give them a billion Riptires. If you just kind of play passive, you're just going to get poked down on the point as well, and you just have the diva from the defensive team jump down. As you see Carpe just ripping some heads, but you know, the headshot's nice. The thing so here's the thing, you'll have the Nano Blade potentially, but you don't have like an EMP to take some of these abilities offline, so.
You still have to worry about crowd control effects applied to Crystal as he goes in for his valiant attempt.
Gotta worry about like traps and remote mines and whatnot, so.
Okay. Good little combination there. Crystal, oh, it's trapped again! He can't get out!
I jinxed him.
He doesn't look like a marsupial to me, but I guess South Korea see things differently. Oh man, that's so rough. Talk about pest extermination there. However, Carpe does go down to the minefield that Lee drops up on that high ground. You can see it across the way here. So Fletter now has to step up and provide the bulk of that damage. It's less direct than a headshot from a Widowmaker, to be sure. But a Riptire here from Fletter in a few moments might be enough to tip the scales back in favor. It's coming in over the top. No, the shield was there. Crystal takes to the skies though. Now with the Dragon Blade once more. Does not find what he needs, but Fletter fell to late young. Now South Korea, it's more just a token defense here they're trying to set up, and yeah. Avert your eyes if you're easily squeamish. The Chinese squad get their revenge and will take point A.
Yes, there the Genji pays off for Crystal, but they may have caught it for a split second there, but Jonak uses Transcendence as Animo is going in for a res, and it gets broken up, and that's how they end up backing out around the corner. South Korea wanted to fight that longer. They wanted to have some players come off of respawn and really give that a shot.
I'd say it's more like
this is what we gave China props for in our last series. They made adjustments really fast and changes. South Korea, they were like, okay, they have the Genji, let's go over to Winston, and we'll play, you know, the Zarya as well for Carpe. China changes right away. They bring in a Pharah. They have no answer for this.
He Fate took 2 direct hits and immediately was forced straight back. Jonak, that's another hit. He wants to stay and fight. Only Jonak would try for that and flip. What? He hits the whip shot from the ground. You can leave your Nene at home. That was enough for me. Self-destruct comes through. Gooshway taken down. Attempted a res by Evil Tile denied. Lei Young trying to back up. Leave is grounded. Stay in your room.
I got to see that whip shot again. So Jonak, like, he has no mercy pocket. He's just out in the middle of the street. And when you do have Crystal land a rocket on him early, and he's weak, he's like, all right, I'll give you the advantage. I'm gonna challenge this. As here comes a grab. You're only gonna connect with Late Young here, so you will get the DMAC, but China may be able to still push on this. And now you get the Transcendence out. So you're China, you can back out of this, try and build up some more ults.
Yeah, that must be done. Barrage's response, that's risky!
Get 2 though.
He still gets 2 despite the presence of the Diva in the defense matrix, and Fate's trying to follow up now and slow things down for China. He doesn't want to give them this opening. So now he's going to duel with Sky, trying to dodge the sleep. Sky desperately, but Fate, he's just giving him the old 2-step, the old Frank Sinatra. Drop back down on the payload now. Animo did go missing. China look like they're trying to make these fights chaotic, which is something that Seoul Dynasty specifically struggled with throughout the Overwatch League as an all-Korean roster. Chaotic gameplay. Looks like China were born into it, molded by it.
You can do a ton of damage with Doomfist through the second stage of the map. So you do see them get behind, leaves Doomfist, get aggressive. They're going to stay on the Doom Pharah combination here. South Korea not going to make any changes, it looks like. They're going to keep rolling out with this. It's only 30 seconds left. You also probably feel like if you get a Graviton Surge here, the game is yours.
Crystal encroaching. Definitely wanted to charge up a quick barrage. It's going to be so sound barrier quickly brought out of Animo though. That's the case, awfully fast, but it's enough time to deal with lead. Fletter taking damage on the low ground. Crystal knows he has to back away. It's very unlikely.
They're not going to get another fight.
Too much more going here. They have to remain. The barrage is there. It's going to have to be a risky run. The self-destruct though. Crystal didn't quite know where it was, and it claimed Evil Tile. He was right behind Crystal. The Pharah got the safety, but the Mercy was left out to dry. And now Fletter, wax on, wax off, all the way to the bank. South Korea take map 2.
Interested why China chose this map. I think we'll find out as it progresses, because on defense, South Korea could play exactly what they just played on King's Row with the Junkrat and the Widowmaker, and it's even more punishing trying to get to the high ground here, which China struggled with before. So we'll see how they play this defensively, China, and then we'll see what happens when we go to their offensive side.
We saw this earlier on from China. Definitely playing a little bit more of a razor's edge kind of defense. By that I mean The tanks are positioned forward in positions that South Korea can't actually see them, and they want to drop down and they want to bring the fight to South Korea before they have a chance to set up.
See, South Korea, though, they realize that there's nobody that can punish them from the high ground like a Widowmaker, and they go 3 tanks, 3 supports, because there's no reason for them to really challenge at high ground. As long as they take the fight on the point in these close quarter areas, they're going to have the advantage.
Look at Gushue, he almost went down. He and Lei Young were out of sync, diving onto that high ground. So Lei Young goes up, drops down, almost, dead, and then Gushue does the same thing and takes a bucket of damage. Jonak and Crystal are kills that are traded out here. Eviltal was able to get up close and personal and remove the Zenyatta. But Fake can just jump back in now. Gets a bubble, of course, given to him from Carpe, who's charging up towards that Graviton surging. Flatter once again is in the mix. This is a dangerous situation here for old mate Sky, as Fake just giving him a tickle from the high ground. China just being bundled out.
It's exactly what I was just talking about. They did not worry about getting picked off on the high ground, playing from the point. They run right to the point. And then, South Korea gets very close to taking it. And then what? China has to dive on in. And that's exactly where South Korea wants to fight them. Carpe is going to have a grab here. You already have the effects of rally. They want to get this D-Mech before they use the grab. No chance of it getting eaten here.
Carpe just sees Leave inside. And he goes, yeah, it's time to Graviton. We call that one the Leave It, fam. He gets knocked away from the point, 100 charge. And now Flatter's going to deal with Crystal. China, they've got plenty of flashy plays, Matt. Some exciting heroes, a lot of dive, a lot of aggression, a lot of smoke and mirrors. But to South Korea, it's just another brick in the wall, another step on the road, and they're dominating on this point B.
Yeah, they've already used the EMP, and Crystal has to switch off of Sombra here just to try and get back larger HP pool. So there was nothing to remove the effects of all that shielding that came through from the sound barrier, as this would be real bad for China, Mitch. This would be a tremendous time here if South Korea can take this soon.
Jonak with 2 kills there, as he's been given enough space to work. You can see the Maestro pulling the strings right now. Lei Young ejected quickly, executed. Jonak standing back. Look how much health this guy has. He's like a tank that deals damage at the same time. It's just gross. 300. That armor, they're going a long way, and now he is just dishing it out. No one can stop this squad. And we should have known beforehand. How could we ever have doubted? South Korea looked to be completely unperturbed by the approach that China took, and that was a blisteringly fun.
They're back, and the high ground is even more punishing. See what China decides to do. It looks like they're going to come out, they're going to try and play for point.
This is an old school composition though, Matt. Like, we used to see this sort of early on in the Overwatch League. A lot of poke damage, hard to dive on. Flate and Federer are going to cause you problems, and Carpe has all this room up here.
It says a lot for this composition that has survived pretty much every meta change we have seen this far. There is a reason the defensive composition from South Korea is still getting play. It is that good here on the Temple of Anubis. So they go with Leave on Doomfist, like we talked about earlier. When you have this position as the Widowmaker, if Doomfist does not get up there and take care of you quick, you have used every movement ability, you are stuck. Carpe actually plays the lower bridge, which is super smart now, because if they use the movement abilities to get in and get on top, he just goes back.
He anticipated the switch to Widow here.
Yes, they do get the Widow in.
And that's why Carpe dropped down, because he has no shielding on the high ground, but he might be a little bit caught here. Anamo dutifully keeping Carpe topped up, and now he'll take to the skies. Jump shot doesn't really reveal any targets for him. China a little bit split here at the moment. Crystal is actually flanking behind. They need to keep Gushue alive. It's very important. Leave is low. He needs to drop off the high ground. There's a couple seconds now for Carpe to reign supreme in the sniper battle. Leave again presents himself, and Fate was just peeking out through his shield. Part of his character model had protruded slightly, so Leave was able to get the shot. Leave is pulled off of the high ground, though. There is fighting happening on the point currently. Crystal goes down to Jonak. Riptire. He's always going to get you a kill. And Flutter makes sure of that when Eviltal falls and the D-sit on Lei Young, which means that China have pretty much no resources left to take this point. This Primal Rage should really only be for survival, and even then, it doesn't seem super convincing. China might try and again engage off the back of it.
Yeah, they do force this Valkyrie, though, from Animo. So Gushue uses the Primal Rage. They know they have the spawn advantage being on the offensive side. They track down Carpe. Jonak coming back from spawn. May not even make it in time. Fleta does make a change over to Brigitte as well.
Yeah, they caught Carpe out really nicely. Fate stayed alive a bit longer than he had any other business doing, but China now have the position. They also have a Dragon Blade if they do need to go for that. Likely it actually gets held until Sky has his nano boost.
He's going to have it within the first few seconds of this fight. South Korea wants to fight it as well. Yep. They're not giving up on this.
Fate switched Winston as well, so he'll be back with the point a little bit faster, but South Korea need to do without him for the time being. And Animo can't stand up on the heat. He's cut down. Jonak is the second. 2 supports and Fury down for the price of 1 blade, and Crystal can't be happier than that.
tell you what, if you're South Korea, you're pretty happy though. As you went to contest that, it did force him to use the Nano Blade combination.
Right, it can be risky, but it's also important to force that extra ults because South Korea are about to make a change in comp. So they want to even the playing field in terms of those ultimate percentages. Obviously, after you switch heroes, you get reset to 0. 2 self-destructs going in. Carpe found Crystal, and the fight seems to be taken to the low ground now. Looks like the moats will run with blood. Sleeves is going to be pushed on out. Carpe chasing down 90 charge. He's hitting very, very hard right now, and the rest of China will be chased down. The longer this takes, the longer that Late Young is running around with nothing but a bunny blaster to defend himself, the longer it'll be before China
also
can
putting leave on the Zenyatta.
6.
So you have your 2 DPS players from the previous map now picking up supports. Not really too surprising to see a DPS player pick up the Brigitte. That's usually one we see, but to have Leave, who's had such a strong Doomfist, and like the Pharah and all these other different heroes, now picking up the Zen, that'll be interesting to see.
Very much so. We know he's a man of many talents, and in a team and in a meta where you do have to often play more tanks than normal, it's maybe not so shocking, but South Korea, much work to do here. Flutter will just be pushing forward initially, so, you know, he'll respect that Fate and Gushue want to have their gentleman's battle. He doesn't really want to get zapped by that Tesla cannon too much anyway. And Carpe will be setting up probably to the left of screen. Yeah, you can see him just up the top there waiting to see if China want to try and get aggressive.
You know, this is one of the stronger combinations, you know, between Carpe and Flutter's hero pools. You could make a case that these are each of their best heroes here, that they can play for a very long time on Watchpoint Gibraltar because of the verticality. And you see Animo on the Ana. That's kind of why he was brought into this roster late, because they felt that his Ana was just a tier ahead of Arcs.
Carpe now wants to push forward. Jonak was caught by Gushue, gets a second there as well. Very effective push for him, of course, with that nano boost, which goes a long way for Winston, who would like nothing more than to deliver that extra damage right to the face. That will slow South Korea down.
Well, you are building up to this Nano Blade very quickly for South Korea.
We don't make a battle won by Carpe. And that's one less player for South Korea to worry about. Now Flutter might just be finishing the job here. He gets stunned as he hits the ground. Crystal knocks him back desperately with that whip shot, but he will be hunted down. Just the one kill though, but Carpe's out here doing the rest of the work. Lei Young's on the payload, desuited. Carpe finds it. That ejected that pilot diva model is very thin, very hard to hit. But for Carpe, it may as well be a barn door.
And you won't fight this again. You won't get an opportunity to. Everybody who spawns close decides to back up.
Oh, that's filthy!
Oh. So it's like, we were talking before. You know, South Korea probably has the strongest double sniper setup you can have. And I feel like China, you know, they're playing it now, and they could be playing with trouble, right? If Fleta decides to go Hanzo, you know, it could get pretty scary.
I mean, are you really trying to play them with their own game?
Yeah, that's the craziest part about it.
Carpe backs up. He obviously has vision at least on Lei Young's position because of that poison mine. Obviously, we'll reveal him through walls for a time. So, valuable information. Carpe knows that, you know, he needs to worry about Lei Young, of course, and Gushue. Gushue himself, who drops down to the low ground, takes a ton of damage, but it's because he has his primal rage available. Now he's going to try and hunt Carpe across the map. Couple more flying fists and will have to kill, but it's traded out. Fate does the same thing. He goes into the back line of China and gets rid of Iveldo. Transcendence now for South Korea, and also for China. They're trying to mirror each other as much as they can. China, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but when you measure these two teams up, it looks like China struggling to get close. Crystal, though, Dragon Strike getting rid of Jonak is a good start, and it will end the fight.
But yet again, you have this great combination. Genji Blade plus the Nano Boost available for South Korea in the next fight. Now, China will probably play, you know, their snipers up on the high ground. You can spread out a little bit. You can make it more very difficult.
Potential is so important on this map. Gushue hasn't received that healing that he's been looking for quite yet. A Flutter might chase this as an opportunity to go in. Lead! Where did he even go? He just disappeared, deleted from the game. Gushue as well. Fell with the Dragon Blade. Now Crystal had to hold that arrow. Flutter was going to send it right back. And now they can sit on the high ground. In the meantime, of course, the payload is just moving forward. Now, China, they're being staggered out. This is essentially a stagger Crystal trying to win the battle out, but even the rapid fire Hanzo can't get the job done. Somebody stop this man! Flutter is out of control! China finally chime in and find a response, but isn't enough. Fury desuited here, and it looks like, yes, it is. South Korea had to back away despite the valiant attempts of Flutter to change it.
That is a great fight window for China. That is a fight that looks like it's going in South Korea's favor. They do a nice job. You know, I was talking about how China, where they want to go with the Dragon Blade. off of all that information.
Crystal could see all of this, very quickly sends a Dragon Strike, but you got to get up early in the morning if you want to trick South Korea with that one. And they just move right out the way. Anamo actually having switched off the Ana is a reason they were able to avoid losing the fight immediately. The speed boost gets them out of trouble, and now they can reset, go again. Crystal's ult. Ready for nothing. And you see Primal Rage now, Gushwei in the backline. Fury trying to sort of slow him down, but Defense Matrix doesn't stop this kind of close quarters combat. And he forces that transcendence on out of Jonah. Anamo goes down early in the fight. Shy finds the pick, but he's lost Crystal and Neve now. He's going to do something incredible in the backline, but the Snow Dome, the bubble, is keeping South Korea well protected from the long range damage of that Widowmaker. Fury gets a health pack, a repair pack, and is sent on in to get the job done. Shy is felled. And it looks like China will be struggling to contest this. They go once more. Gushwei drops in. Lee comes in with a transcendence. Splatter is a little low, so he backs away. Rally being used now. And a self-destruct in over the top. China pokes the heads out. Now the explosion is done. And Crystal just trying to get damage in from the door, but he can't commit physically to the area of the payload. Lei Young is down. Second checkpoint, South Korea.
And I love how, before we get that final fight on point B, some extra players spawning up here, some cleanup kills coming in from South Korea. I love how we saw from Shy's POV, where he jumped down and he was on the flank. And if you notice, from his POV, he's looking at the South Korean roster, he's firing shots. Usually he has to come close, or what they do is they just keep moving the payload around the corner. He has to come down and fight, and then they deal with it.
Graviton surge there as well. Dragon Strike may well have been eaten there. We don't actually see it come through. And that's right, Gushwei has fallen. Fate is low, but Korea just trying to back up a little bit here. They're losing a couple of players to poke damage. This is the tough part. Later in the fight, if South Korea don't get rid of Shy early on, or Crystal as it were, double sniper compositions really start to ruin you.
Well, I was going to say, with the high ground here for Shy, it's a lot easier to land these headshots down onto Jonak or Animo. And I think that's why Fate switches off of Winston to Reinhardt to protect those players, get them in there behind that big shield.
Shy's looking for the little palisade at the back. Yveltal has a take to the sky to avoid getting chunked down. He had a Discord orb on him there. That's the Dragon Strike from Crystal. Comes through. Fate is down, but Crystal is traded out for it. Not having a mech for Fury is a problem, though, especially against these snipers. So we'll see if South Korea just trying to look for a pick here. They may be stopped. 12 seconds left. They lost Carpe. That's a problem. Gushwei's like, yep, it's time to go. Straight forward he goes. Speeds the Gushwei in. Shy finds two picks. Jonak's out of position now, has to use a transcendence and get to the payload just to contest it. Fate charges forward. He knows he's going to get a bit of healing for the moment, and now Leaf is forced to back away. Gushwei's in the backline, but Jonak has so much shielding, he has to sit inside the bubble and wait. Flatter stuns him up. Overtime still going. Fate manages to refresh it, but he's so low. Knocked towards the payload. Gushwei now getting a bit mad. King of the jungle, they say. And he's trying to claim his territory, but Fate's found Lei Young. He gets the charge and removes the Diva. Self-destruct is in. South Korea now looking better and have a shot at finishing this map. Jonak finds Leave at long range. Get out of town! South Korea pushed through in the final moments, and China doesn't even bother. They just take a seat and accept their fate. And Fate was the one that started that entire chain of events. Another day at the office for Jonak, of course. But for us, it's just unbelievable.
China played that map very strong. The fights that Korea were winning at the beginning, it was really all based around, the right on the other side. He's sitting at 4K. The healing number is a little bit higher, but not really contributing to a ton of kills, dying a little bit more than Jonak.
Not a huge difference between the two of them, and it's not really enough of a sample size to make any conclusion from it. It is interesting to see the different look, but here's a double sniper again for China, of course, on the attack. It is definitely something they want to go to. South Korea only have the one sniper, but Carpe can often be considered to be worth two.
Well, what you do have here, though, for South Korea is Fleta as Brigitte can just contest the payload for so long, because Brigitte is so tanky for support that it allows Fate and Fury to chase down some of these snipers as well.
This positioning is not normal, by the way. The Carpe pushes this far down, says a lot about him as a player and about him as a person. There's an aggressive push down, utmost faith in himself, obviously belief in his teammates. Up to the high ground, and you can see how those Divas interacting with the defense matrix in play can affect, Carpe's odds of getting a kill or feeling confident pushing forward. Oh, Shy wants the tango. Carpe says, come at me, bro. And Shy's having none of it. Realizes he's woken the dragon and doesn't want to stick around to see the aftermath. Carpe, though, launches himself up, and Crystal finds him with that Sonic Arrow. Or with the Storm Arrow, should I say, now forced to back away a little bit, but again, that pick is a good start for China. South Korea now just have to give it a bit of ground.
You can see the tanks can control the high ground here for South Korea. They can put Fleta on the cart. Fate does have Primal Rage. It'll be Valkyrie used here for China. Just trying to get that extra healing and also, you know, the damage they can provide to everybody as well. Ooh. There goes Jonak. That's a big pick. He was just about to get Transcendence.
Fate using Primal Rage there is very interesting. He needs to get back to the payload because Crystal's going to cap it. Crystal knocked across the map. Yveltal just trying to keep him alive, and it's being successful in doing so. I guess the rate of fire of those fits just isn't very high, and Fate has to give up his life trying to defend. This is a better look from China. This is a recovery. And they get that first checkpoint.
Like I mentioned, a lot of the fights that Korea was winning, you were using that Nano Blade combination at the beginning. Carpe gets that front spawn, nothing he can do about it. Once you saw, the snipers for China start to come alive. It looked like South Korea, they just switched over to triple tank, triple support, fought it on the ground. See how they decide to use this Dragon Strike. Fury got one of them in the last half, and not going to get this one.
Dragon Strike not getting much done there. Fury down to Shy though, and China can continue to move forward. Shy has definitely the high ground, but Carpe doesn't respect the tactics of war. Sun Tzu, he says, never heard of him. Crystal now pushing forward to Fate down the lead there, so he's getting some damage done on that Zenyatta pick right now. He's sitting in the background pretty comfortably though. Doesn't really seem to be phased by much disman. And of course, the Mercy inclusion means that Crystal gets to come back. A second bite of the apple. Leave is just steamrolled over, though, by Fleta, and losing his Zenyatta hurts. It hurts bad. Of course, Fleta receives a nano boost because he can do so much with it. It's very difficult to kill Brigitte when she is in combat and she has a nano boost, let alone if she had a rally. Here's another dragon coming through, though.
And I believe that one actually was eaten. Yeah, it looked like Crystal was on the other side of those orange crates, and Fury just playing the opposite side, just turns to his left, eats that one.
Where did that grenade come from? That's ridiculous. Fate just taking his time now, was in Primal Rage form, but a little bit low on health. Just to tickle towards Leave. He sees Yveltal, though he does have a dash to chase, but he instantly sees that that would have been suicidal. Crystal was chasing him down. Fate hasn't had full health for quite some time. Self-destruct doesn't really find too much, but the Dragon Jonak got debated, walks straight on into it now. Crystal trying to deal with Fate, who's still fighting a low health battle, and Fleta, yes, once again, he gets the nano boost. Not a whole lot to be done with it this time. They do know, of course, the Gushway's behind them, so immediately it's a rude awakening. Shunted and stunned as soon as he gets back up, but Shy has returned to the arena. Yveltal brings him back to life, and this fight is far from done, but Carpe's in deep trouble. Gushway wants him, he wants him bad. And he might get away with it too. It's so filthy, he gets a second. Over the top of Fleta, and there'll probably be 3 here if Fury is not going to be allowed to escape. Stunning Winston play here from China, and they are looking much better. A chance perhaps on the map.
They do use the Valkyrie here, trying to stay alive. Fleta now will go over to Wrecking Ball. So South Korea still wants to fight this. You don't have the effects of Valkyrie because you had it forced out by Primal Rage a little bit earlier.
They have to stall this.
Yeah, self-destruct comes through. Late Young, actually the self-destruct clears it long enough for them to cap the point. Yep. So China does take it. They'll actually be able to kill a few members here of South Korea, and it'll allow them to get some space around the corner.
It happened in an instant. It was kind of hard to see because Fate was leaping at the payload and actually never got to touch it before they managed to cap.
This will be really telling. So South Korea goes double sniper versus China's double sniper. See how it plays out. It's going to be a nano boost on Fate. He finds the supports, pushes them back. Carpe with a kill on a Crystal. Oh, you think that's it? But Gushway's in the back line.
Yeah, Fate was being chased down there by Late Young by the looks, but it looks like his pursuer has broken off. Clever again by Fate. Real great discipline not to chase Yveltal there, even though we had nano boost and about 300 health. He didn't want to give up his life. Really, finer points, but it makes a big difference. Dragon Strike now. No one there really to receive it. Fate now going to go for the Primal Rage here, and everyone's in that small room, but oh, he's forced a Transcendence. That's a huge deal right now. Jonak's had to use his though as well, but South Korea probably happily just matching those ultimates for the time being. Yveltal desperately trying to keep Late Young up, and he's done so far, but Gushway gets a little bit too close to the beast. Fate though gets blown to smithereens by the self-destruct, and now some momentum is building for China. Fleta's trying to get away from this one, but Gushway won't be having it. He's going to sit and spawn and wait his turn, and Gushway is the headsman's axe.
Yeah, that's why you love having that Mercy there. You get the res. Fleta is trying to do some damage here. It's going to be Carpe going Tracer, trying to get back to the point. We'll see if they can contest. It'll be a nano boost as Fate dives in.
Primal Rage available for Gushway here to stall, get some more time. That was the Dragon Strike from Fleta. Again, more importantly, just to move China off of the payload, to give South Korea some respite as they gather themselves now for what will be the final fight. Fury up to the high ground here in the self-destruct forces. Late Young to try and hide, but Leave can't get away. Evil Tal will get the Resurrector and bring this in yet back. This is China's Dragon Strike now. Flatter finds Gushue, though the Doom Fist coming out, but it's so aggressive it puts him right from the frying pan into the fire. And Shy have made a meal of it.
They got to get aggressive here, though, Mitch. The spawns are just going to keep coming up for South Korea. You see Shy here up on the high ground, able to lock some players at the spawn. And China will complete the map. They look so good with that sniper play. Really giving South Korea some trouble there. Now we're starting to see a game.
It's interesting. We talked before this match about South Korea's double sniper composition and the potential.
All here because, the snipers, they're just going to put some damage down. You're going to build up some of those support ultimates. You get one or two, right? You get a rally, you get a transcendence, you start snowballing through. Not going to get the transcendence, Jonek's dead, but you start building up some of those support ultimates. Maybe you can make some progress.
I mean, that's big though. It allows China now to push up, get more aggressive. They don't have to worry about the Discord orb just decimating their tanks. Shy is holding this angle as well. South Korea, if they're not using a sniper to try and counter the sniper of China, they can't answer back in kind. They can't just pick that same angle and Fate trying to get back to the door. And they are bundled back inside once again. This is a great look from China, and South Korea seem unsure.
It's very smart because if they run this composition and they get under the bridge, that's where they have to go down and fight them. In the open here, there's no answer for that they can do with the triple tank, triple support. So they have to switch off, but they have to play the double sniper.
Now trying to give a little bit more room. They allow South Korea to just begin their approach with this payload, but there's a Dragon Strike which will force them off. Crystal wants to hold it for about now to make sure time runs out while the Dragon is still in effect. South Korea, it's dangerous to get too close, but they keep Fate just on top of that payload. Lei Young wants to chase him, but he gets the call to back out. He does get away with just a sliver of help, but it's enough to keep him inside his mech. Having a mini diva, or a D-mech diva as it were, in this next fight for China would definitely be a huge disadvantage. We've seen this angle before. Shy gets that infra sight. Carpe has switched to Widow, but Shy has the advantage. Carpe knows that his counterpart will be able to track his movement through these walls, and he's playing very passively as a result.
He has to. It's the only option he has. The self-destruct goes through. South Korea still contesting, but they lose Fury. That's big. You don't have that diva. There are no defense matrix. You see how low Fate's going. There'll be a transcendence that keeps him alive for the time being.
That will answer the Dragon, but Arnamo hasn't been able to push out yet because he was forced away by the Dragon. But Flatter, he's going to take the direct approach. They get off the payload, though. They weren't able to keep it going.
They had players there, too.
Yep.
They weren't getting pushed back by like a Primal
I'll
Raid
be
or
honest,
something, yeah.
That might have been a good old C9. That might have been what just happened. Jonak and Anima were playing around. Golden Boy talked about it on the desk. Brent doesn't know the meaning of the word.
I don't know what he's talking about.
But this is where South Korea and China especially need to have
a bash and roll out here.
All right, well, Johnny thought it was only for them, but no. There was another. Shy on the payload now with the Bastille. We love it. Some classic Overwatch here, ladies and gentlemen. A variant on the pirate ship strategy. And that's frustrating for South Korea. They have to commit to this fight. Carpe can't do much to get through this shield. Shy is waiting. He knows they're going to drop down. This is when you start to clench your teeth and get ready. Flatter takes a little bit of damage and forced away. Fate's bubble immediately disintegrates now as Shy is just churning on forward. Damage now on towards Fate as he tries to drop on him. Shy is put to sleep. That's the pickoff. That's what South Korea needed. But Carpe's gone down. They trade out damage dealers. But the Bastion is missing for China, and he is the centerpiece of their composition. Pressing forward, hold used now. Flatter keeping the shield up and his team alive. He has rally if he needs it. But South Korea don't want to commit further to the fight. Crystal's brought back into the fray. For South Korea, they're not about this kind of cheesy play, Matt. They're not having any of it. Pushing into the small room. Fate goes quite far, gets holded back. Fury now tries to body block and gets desuited. Even with the Transcendence, they do not have a meched up diva now. Flatter just trying to get healing now with these swings, trying to hold the fort. 1 minute left, but Fate's in the back line. It's gone into the cookie jar and there's nothing left.
And you're going to have to make some more changes. Like, you can't really play the Orisa here because you can't really push forward. They're going to have to change off of that. You're going to play Winston here on like 50 seconds to go.
It's all gone wrong for China.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have the nano boost here for South Korea. Another rally in self-destruct. 3 really good ultimates. And that's the risk of running the pirate ship at the beginning, is that if it doesn't work, if they're able to dislodge you off the payload as Bastion, it forces a lot of changes. Carpe will go Hanzo here. You get some extra damage. The Dragon Strike to split some players off of the card.
Can pressure the Reinhardt down a lot. Fate can't really just drop down at his leisure. He needs to stay here. Gushue's taking quite a lot of damage and Flatter goes in over the top. And South Korea, they're getting aggressive. Gushue's been taken down. Shy is also missing. amazing lead down to the southwest track, as is Crystal. There's nobody left for China. It's South Korea. Wave after wave of China has broken upon them, and it's barely left a dent. Now, 2 seconds left. Goosewood needs to get there, but he's